Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, this is Tim.
Do y'all sell bait?
Yes, we seasonally stock live shrimp, live bull minnows, live sand fleas, live fiddler crabs, earthworms, night crawlers, crickets. We also stock frozen shrimp, sand fleas, mullets, squid, pre-rigged ballyhoo, bonita, stingray, cigar minnows, Boston mackerel, Spanish mackerel, and a few other miscellaneous baits. It's worth the drive to buy premium locally sourced bait from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
If it's Western wear for the whole family you're looking for, there's only one place to shop, that boot store. The selections are huge and many of your favorite name brands at affordable prices are available. Want the finest in work clothes? Famous Carhartt work clothes are available too. Open Tuesday through Thursday, 9 till 5, and Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. till 5:30. Next to Kia 15th Street, Panama City. Remember what Joe always said, keep Jesus in your life every day.
ESPN Northwest Florida. He once ate an entire birthday cake before he realized there was a stripper inside. Miles Lashley is part of the Afternoon Underdogs. Weekdays 4 to 6 on ESPN Northwest Florida and the ESPN Northwest Florida app.
And we're back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on 104.3 in Panama City, 102.1 in Marietta, and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. It's ESPN Northwest Florida. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Tyler Bishop, Max DeLayden, and James Fife on the ones and two. And we're going to be presenting ESPN Northwest Florida, that is, Wrestling Against Cancer 8, Saturday, April 29th, 2501 Hawks Landing Boulevard. It's Bay Haven Charter Academy right here in Panama City. We're going to have Chuck Diamond, Fool Nelson, who was on the show with us this last Friday, Silas Brown, Frederick Yeager, and exciting women's wrestling with Emily Locks and more. Doors open at 5:30, bell time 6:30. Tickets $12, ages 6 and 15 get in for 8, 5 and under in for free. We've got more info for you at espnpc.com, or you can search Facebook for Wrestling Against Cancer 8. All the proceeds go to benefit Donna Duncan for a chance to win a pair of passes. Text the keyword tickets to 850-215-6290. Jack Patterson will be out there with us at Dave & Buster's promoting the event as well. This is your Mortgage Minute with Max. What's going on, Mr. DeLayden?
Hey.
Hey. All right, let's get into your theory that you have on the pitch clock. Max's pitch clock theory. Let me have it.
I've sat on this for a while and wanted to wait for a few weeks of the season, but the pitch clock is absolutely affecting heavier set pitchers in the league, like starters. The guys who can't keep up with the pace of play. You look at Alek Manoah. Lance Lynn today, he's already given up 5 runs in 4 innings. His ERA is like 7.8. Alek Manoah's is like 10. These guys who, for lack of a better word, are fat are and out of shape. Yeah, less conditioned, are getting pushed to go at more of a pace. And I think they're genuinely gassing themselves because you see Alek Manoah, I mean, granted, he got shellacked against the Rays last start too and threw like 35 pitches in the first, but they look absolutely drained after coming out after an inning because they can't wait and catch their breath in between pitches, step off the rubber a few times, and you're starting to see like a common trend, I think, amongst those guys.
So this is good. They don't need to go to Weight Watchers or anything. They just got to keep pitching.
They got to pitch more often, yeah. I mean, for bullpen, it doesn't seem to be an issue. Like I've seen like Bruce Gratterall or other guys who are still fine. But I genuinely think that is a thing right now, and like it's catching up with them. Like because baseball is one of the only sports I think as a pitcher, and sometimes near the end of your career, you can kind of get away with being a little more out of shape. Like football, they're heavier, but you're still in good shape. It's a different type.
It's a different type of heavy.
Yeah, it's a muscular heavy. It's not like I can't walk up a flight of stairs heavy.
Look at Taylor Lewan, who's lost a lot of weight since, he's not technically a football player right now, or at least not under contract. Yeah. He's lost a lot of weight.
The pictures of Russell Okung? He was a left tackle. He was drafted out of Oklahoma State by Seattle like 10, 12 years ago, and it showed his train. I mean, he looks like he would be a small wide receiver now. Like, he was drafted as a left tackle and played in the league for a decade. And, like, his transformation, like, it's just insane.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, he definitely does look like he could be a wide receiver.
I mean, it's insane the amount of the amount of effort it takes to keep that weight on for some of these guys, like how quickly they shed it. But anyway, not trying to derail it, but it's just crazy how it looks like.
Well, it's good news for some of the. I mean, could you imagine? Man, why am I blanking on Bartolo Colon?
Yeah,
Bartolo Colon,
and he was not a quick pace pitcher. So,
and then here's another thing, though. Right now, majority of these areas are feeling good. It's springtime. It's not too hot.
Come the summer.
Oh man, June, July,
they
August.
forget to close the roof in Arizona. You're drenched.
Oh, you're drenched. I mean, you're drenched.
Manoah's
either
lucky
way.
he's in Toronto.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll see this trickle down to any other parts of the game, because now you're playing the same amount of baseball in 2.5 hours opposed to 3 hours, right? So you're still getting the same amount of running and sprinting, but now it's more consecutively because of the pace of play. Like, I wonder if as the season goes on, you start doing 160. You run a little bit more, a little bit quicker. It'd be interesting to see come playoff time if people looked a little bit more gassed, or if it at least had an injury issue at that point.
That's interesting. I don't know, because it's still essentially the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, as far as for the positional players.
Well, it's the same amount of it, but if you're doing the same amount of work in a shorter amount of time, though, it's basically what's happening, right? Like, it's still 9 innings, but you're doing it 30 less minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
And I can't stand the people like last year when the lockout was going to happen, and I guess it happened briefly. And
Isn't it so wild that it does at this point in time? It doesn't even feel like there was a lockout last
No,
year.
exactly. Like, baseball's totally back. World Baseball Classic. It's all great vibes again. It just is like when people blame it on like a short spring training or like this pitch clock stuff. It's
Or
like
World Baseball Classic.
You're around like world class doctors and trainers and nutrition. Like, you can only blame yourself. Like,
That's it.
I mean, it's bad
that is
luck,
a good
but it's
point.
still like you are around all the best resources that none of us even have access to.
And then you even go a little bit deeper, almost psychologically or spiritually, if you will. And what do people always say about the friends that you keep, or what you're gonna show me your friends and I'll show you yourself, essentially, right? And when you're around those guys, they all the hard work, dedication, passion that they had to put into their game to get to the level, and so you're around other major leaguers, and you would think that would make you or push you into the direction of healthier lifestyle, if you will.
Right. And I'm by no means like the biggest LeBron James fan, but he's done that and invested in his body. And look at him. He's still in great shape.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get hurt often. And when he does, he comes back very quick. So
Tom Brady's was in the same boat, though. I mean, looking at the guy, you wouldn't be able to tell that he was 45 years old. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it might even be even more so impressive. I don't know. I struggle with this back and forth, but the length of Tom Brady's career and the height of his career with Tom Brady as well. You know what I mean? Like, which one's more impressive? You're playing an extremely violent sport with the sport of it. With football, with the NFL, and then with basketball, it's still a full contact sport, and you're putting a lot on your body.
Right, and I love Brady, and I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, but it's probably more impressive for LeBron because he went so deep in the playoffs so many times, and playing on that expedited schedule where he's back in. I guess he didn't really play preseason basketball often, but he was right back in the run of things. Tom Brady didn't get hit as much. I mean, I know he tore his ACL and stuff, but he really wasn't getting the beating LeBron gets, and he's a 6'8", 280-pound body getting beat down.
Just the wear and tear of your body of like supporting your own weight, jumping up and down. That's like people don't always remember that part. Like, it's 280 pounds coming down on those ankles every single time.
Exactly.
That's a lot of weight, man. Especially because it's muscle weight too. Like we were saying, that's a little bit.
It's coming down.
Let's get into your aces. Your thought on your aces, starting pitchers, some injuries.
I was thinking of you yesterday when DeGrom came out of the game with some wrist soreness. Like, come on, man. Like,
were they wearing their flashy new uniforms yesterday? Their City Connect uniforms?
I don't know if they were. I don't remember.
I saw some more details. Yeah,
jersey details.
So much, especially going on with it. So let me not even derail that. Let's get into the aces, though. Max Fried having a good evening last night, but also on the flip side of that, the injuries.
And DeGrom said nothing to worry about, but he said every time he gets hurt. Like, I think your wrist and forearm bothering you as a pitcher is very concerning.
Especially that forearm.
After that elbow stuff he's had, that's not a good start for him in Texas. Corbin Burns going out. Hunter Greens was at least a fluke. He was a comebacker, and he should be okay.
Yeah.
But I was bummed because I still think he's the second best pitcher out of those big three on the Reds.
Huge
but-
on Lodolo.
Yeah, Lodolo is freaking awesome, and he's going tonight against Taj Bradley, which will be great.
Yeah,
but
that's must-watch TV.
it is. It's two of like the really exciting young arms coming up, and Hunter Green was dialed in, so it stunk to see him come out on that. But I understand being precautionary, and the Reds
What inning did he exit?
third.
Inning, and they still won the game 8-1.
Yeah, and he hadn't given up a run, I believe, and he looked good. And Max Fried looked great yesterday too. He is just a stud.
Talk about a guy who gets injured and comes back even almost better. So 2021, he had like a sub-2 ERA, and early in the season, he had strained his hamstring.
That's right.
And so every time that he strains his hamstring, as long as it's a low-grade strain,
Yeah,
like he
he's
comes
good.
back and he's just phenomenal. So, and he was last night, what, 5-6 hits or so.
Yeah.
No runs given up, 5 innings of work. It's much needed for the Braves rotation, who's been struggling as far as health is concerned.
Absolutely, and that one always haunts me a little because I remember when Chris Bryant rumors were going around of trading him, that there was a potential Braves package of him and Austin Riley, and now in hindsight that trade looks amazing, but I don't know if they would have been as good in that situation with the Cubs starting to flounder, but you never know. But the Braves wouldn't look the same either, so
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm glad we. I'm glad we.
yeah, I
held
think
on
you
to
made
those.
the right decision.
And it's just wild because Chris Bryant is one of those guys that you just root for him.
Yeah, he just
or
seems
at
like a
least
good
I
guy.
always have. Yeah, he just seems he's like a Freddie Freeman. Like if Freddie
Exactly.
Freeman was never an Atlanta Brave, I would be all for Freddie Freeman all the time, and I
Yeah, like
am.
him and
But I
did you
gotta
see him and
adjust him a
Dansby
little bit.
dapping up this weekend? I was
Dude,
like,
how
wow.
was that serious for you?
Great. We should have swept him,
I
man.
know, taking 2 out of 3, and
Yeah.
Freddie Freeman's playing good ball. You know, the Dodgers just have a lot of question marks. Not a lot. They don't. That's crazy to say about the Dodgers. They just have some question marks in some key positions.
Yeah.
That as the year gets to rolling, those questions are going to be answered just a lot like the
their-
Philadelphia
yeah.
Phillies.
Like their problem is that they have too many guys in too many spots to get consistency. But
Yeah.
it was so dumb. Bellinger got a strike penalty for not stepping into the box for like acknowledging in the standing no that he got. I was like, come on.
Hey, so this is a Miles thing, right? Fans could start to employ that, like start giving the best player on the other team a standing ovation out of nowhere in the biggest spot of the game, and then boom, here we are, man. Go ahead, James.
Have you seen teams with the visiting team? They'll do the pitch clock countdown, but they'll be like 2 seconds ahead of it.
Oh, I have not seen that yet, but that's
Like
smart.
shot clocks on the road.
But I like this. This is one of the
That's funny.
elements that I like is when you can get fans engaged in the game and they feel like they're doing something for their team outside of just cheering in and of itself. I love that, man. That is fan involvement, fan engagement. That's why minor league baseball does so well. That's why, things that drive utilize the community do so well. Let's get into before we do that, FTJ, Fernando Tatis Jr. is returning. I believe he's making his return Thursday. What's your thoughts on that, Max?
I'm excited for it. It's good to have a superstar back in baseball. Granted, we haven't seen him in a while, but I know it's been really cool to see that he has 6 homers or whatever, but it doesn't mean that much to me personally, at least, because I think AAA is usually where a lot of guys kind of bottom out at, and a lot of the better pitching's in AA. So
That's interesting.
it's more like he's beating up on guys who are fringe or tertiary to the league. So it's really cool. And don't get me wrong, you can't take away that feat from someone, but at the end of the day, it means nothing. It's like popping off in preseason football.
Where do you think he goes into the lineup? Is he going to be hitting ahead or behind Juan Soto?
Man, that's tough. I think if I were them, I would probably go Soto 3 or Soto 2, Tatis. I would go Machado 3, Tatis 4.
Would you change your lineup depending on?
Put Xander 5, I think.
Well, let's say you got a right-handed pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hit Soto ahead of Tatis, or do you not worry about what side of the ball?
I would keep Soto in the 2 spot, but I think he's going to figure it out and be okay. I know he hasn't been playing to his standard, but
Yeah, but he wasn't last year either.
no,
to
since he's
start
been
the
in
year.
San Diego, really.
Yeah, but to start the year out, even with the Nationals, it's not like he was going
No.
crazy or anything. Then he came over to San Diego and really started to finally kind of find it. I would say
And I'm
late
sure-
August,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I'm sure you see on Twitter all the time Braves fans arguing Acuna, Soto, and right now, I mean, it's advantage Acuna. I'd say he's a better fielder, and Soto kind of has a squirt gun arm, so
Yeah,
His arm's actually like bad.
The whole
For being
thing
a
for Soto,
superstar.
and that's why he plays left field instead of right field for the most part, right?
Right.
He plays over there with San Diego as well, right? And the thing with Juan Soto has always been the bat. Whereas with Ronnie, it's the speed, the bat, the glove, the superstar personality, if you
Which
will.
Soto kind of has. He has that
does.
unique stance when he came into the league where rookie or pitchers were getting pissed at him because as a rookie, giving him a stare down.
Yeah.
He backed it up, though.
Yeah, and Ronnie's hitting 389 right now.
Which is awesome.
I mean, we're almost a full month into the season and
What's his
hitting
batting
close to
average
400,
right now?
389.
Oh, he's batting average is 389?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was
Yes,
his OBP.
yeah.
Dang.
As far as MLB.com is concerned, I was looking at the box score, and I know that they don't do these box scores because he was 3 for 5 last night.
Yeah.
So they don't do the box scores on. He hit 389 last night, so he's hitting 389 at least going into tonight. And I don't know if he got it. I think he did. No, he did because Austin Riley hit a 2-run shot in the beginning. I'm giving away my whole next segment right now. So we're gonna flip it a little bit and go into some buy or sell here in the next segment. But anyways, Ronnie started it off with a double last night. Austin Riley with a 2-run shot. So that would be at least his 9th leadoff hit to start a game this year with the Bravos. So, for all of the questions of is he going to be the same Acuna that we saw before the injury, I think he's answering that. Absolutely. And I think he is exceeding those expectations. Now, this is a long marathon of a sport, so you can't get overly excited here
you're
in the
not going to hit
first month.
389 all year.
Yeah, no doubt. But if you're over 300 after the All-Star break, let's go.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then because his eye's been a lot better than it was.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he's hitting over 300, his OBP is probably going to be at that mark he's at right now for his batting average. So.
And what's kind of wild as well, and you just have to give all the credit in the world to Alex Anthopoulos. I don't know if it would be any different, but when they let Freddie Freeman go, what was one of the things that everyone was talking about last year with the Atlanta Braves? Who's the clubhouse guy?
Leader.
Who's the leader? Dansby Swanson was essentially that guy. Where's he at now? So now you're looking at
Chicago.
He's leading Chicago, exactly. And so there's really not a top dog in the clubhouse, and I think that it's you got your Travis d'Arnaud, you got your Ozzy Albies, who there's definitely a leader, but I think that that's also helped Ronnie to kind of grow. He learned the right way. He learned the right way to do it from the right guys. But but now it's kind of, if you think about it, this is Ronald Acuna's team now.
It is, yeah.
And I think that's
he's carried himself well too.
Yeah, I do. I think he gets a lot of, flack and negativity thrown his way because of his flamboyancy, his flashiness, and all of that good stuff. But at the end of the day, have you guys watched the other 29 teams play baseball? Right. Like, they've got one player like that on each team, and a lot of those guys who are flashy and fly like that don't even have half the skill that what Ronald Acuna Jr. possesses. So let's get the guy a break, man. If he wants to take 29 seconds to get around the bases after a home run, well, you're going to watch that 35 to 40 times this year then. So it is what it is, and it'll be okay. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got your Mortgage Minute with Max. We just finished that, but we're going to wrap it up in the final segment with a little buy or sell, because I think this would be a lot of fun. Tyler can jump in on it as well as James. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Weather in the Panhandle never stops. Turn to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida and staff meteorologist Tim Root for up-to-the-minute weather reports all day long.
Moving northwestward into the Gulf of Mexico by the weekend.
In-depth storm coverage.
Gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour.
And breaking weather as it happens.
We do have a tropical storm warning.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
At Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, you can find all the necessary items for an unforgettable fishing experience. From pin rods and reels to the best hand-tied rigs in Florida, we have it all. With the help of our friendly and knowledgeable staff, you can be sure that you have the right gear to make that big catch. Come experience a great local bait and tackle shop located directly off 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach, located just 5 miles west of Pier Park.
Are you ready for Panama City's best pizza? Then check out the new Guru's Pizza 786. They don't do just the best pizza. They also serve wings, traditional and boneless, pasta, calzone, salad, sandwiches, and more. Guru's Pizza 786 has 50-plus Indian and Italian pizza varieties. They're open Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. until midnight, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday from 11 a.m. until 3 a.m. Takeout and delivery are available. Guru's Pizza 786, 7806 Front Beach Road. Call 850-588-5055.
ESPN Northwest Florida. He entered a kids' 1 mile fun run and came in 9th. David Hayes is part of the Afternoon Underdogs. Weekdays 4 to 6 on ESPN Northwest Florida and the ESPN Northwest Florida app.
And we're back. It's time for a little traffic jam and trivia here. 850-215-6290. We didn't get a winner yesterday, but for your chance to win, $25 to not the, but that boot store, a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. All you got to do is tell me when Jackie Robinson broke baseball's color barrier on April 15th in 1947. He went hitless for 4 plate appearances. How did Jackie Robinson achieve his first hit with the Brooklyn Dodgers on April 17th. Let's get into some buy or sell again. 850-215-6290. You know which team I want to start with? A team that it was so good you had to have it on the list twice. I didn't put the second one on here, but let's start with the Phillies though. A record of 6-10. Yeah. Are you buying or selling the Phillies? And do you have any criteria, or is this buying or selling to get to the playoffs? Or
if
just
you think this trajectory is going to happen?
Just their stock?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would buy it on the Phillies now. I think they're still going to be competitive and figure it out. Nola finally had his first good start. Wheeler's been shoddy. They're up 5-4 on the White Sox right now. But they have all the tools. And when Bryce Harper comes back, he's, like or hate him, he's a leader in the clubhouse. And I think he's had a pretty cool career arc. And he's become a lot more likable in Philadelphia, in my opinion. I know as a division rival, you're probably not a huge fan of him. But as a ball player, he's clutch. He's fun to watch. And he's another just like a really exciting talent.
What about Stott with the 16-game hitting streak? Is that who you were just talking about, Bryson Stott?
No, Bryce Harper when he comes back.
No, here's the thing with Bryce Harper is when all of us were growing up, right, he was the next big thing. Yeah. But he was still in high school.
15-year-old on Sports Illustrated.
Right, and I remember reading that Sports Illustrated article, and it was talking about how he hit the wall at the Trop and all of that stuff, and it was like, man, I want to be that guy. No doubt, but I'm 15 at the same time, essentially. You know what I mean? So I'm not thinking as much about him. And then to see how it's just progressed and he's embodied what he was supposed to be, I find that awesome. And I love how he's just kind of opened up in a sense, going from Washington to Philly. Yeah. And I like it. Do I hate him on the field, like when he's playing the Braves? Yeah, but outside of that, it is what it is.
Can you imagine playing that AAU team too? Him and Chris Bryant were teammates, so they hit 2-3.
Just for the sake of, if you have a good day when you're playing against those guys, it can maybe take your career in a totally another direction, man.
It's crazy too because they're like really good friends and polar opposite personalities.
Yeah, that is really cool as well. But kind of back to Bryson Stott real quick here, and that's he's not a reason why I'm going to buy. I am buying the Phillies, and I think that they do finish ahead of the Mets in the National League East this year. I still think that the Braves are the favorite. That's easy for me to say as a Braves fan, but Bryson Stott's 16-game hitting streak, or at last I seen it was a 16-game hitting streak, and why I find that impressive is because they brought in Trey Turner. Where was Stott playing in the playoffs last year? Shortstop. They bring in Trey Turner, and now Stott has had to find himself back into the rotation, and he's done it in a big way. So I like that. We're the Afternoon Underdogs for a reason. We root for the underdogs, and he's one of those guys that's fun to root for.
Type. dips.
So I'm absolutely buying the Philadelphia Phillies. What about you, Tyler?
I'm going to buy them as well. Losing the World Series, that championship hangover is always tough. They're still 6-10 is not an insurmountable record. Kind of once they get a little bit farther away, season gets rolling kind of in full gear, I think they'll kind of turn around and make a run at it.
How about you, James?
I'll buy the Phillies. I'm not going to buy them right now. I want to wait until Bryce is a little bit closer to coming back, even if he's only going to be DHing for a while. That's when I'll buy the stock. I want to get it as low as I can find it.
Let it drop a few more points. And
there you go. So he's holding right now. James is holding right now. We can definitely utilize the hold there.
Jim Cramer would be proud of this segment.
Oh,
bye.
Yeah, it sounds like the Cowherd Show almost in a sense too. Yeah, Jim Cramer, man. Oh, my dad used to always watch him. Is he still doing a show?
I think he does.
That is awesome, man. That's really
he looks
cool.
the same too.
That's really wild.
Brings the same energy.
Let's go to the Rangers. You brought up DeGrom earlier, leaving the game in the fifth or sixth inning yesterday. Do you buy, sell, or hold the Texas Rangers right now?
It's been a good start and promising for sure, but I think I'm going to sell them a little bit. Their offense has been good with Semien, Seager. I don't know. I just think the Rangers are one of those organizations that kind of middle out, similarly to like the Angels.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm going to be wrong, but I don't see them being more than 3 games over 500 when the season ends.
I like that. I like that they put a lot of emphasis on building the roster up last year, and then they followed that up with another dose of it and bringing in DeGrom this year. I'm going to sell. I'm not even going to hold with the Rangers right now. I like that they're spending the money. I like that they're doing these things, but I don't think that the window has opened up for them yet. And the window is closed because of the Houston Astros. I don't care about what the Houston Astros record is right now, though. You've got the Mariners over there. You've got the Oakland Athletics. No, I'm just kidding. But you've got the Mariners. You've got the Angels, who everybody wants them to be the best in the AL West.
Yeah, everyone wants to see Trout.
They want to see that, but the Mariners are probably the best team in the West you can make the argument for, but the Astros are the best organization in the AL West. So that's why I'm going to sell the Texas Rangers. What about you, Tyler?
Well, I'm a smart enough man to admit when I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm going to sell just because why would I hold on to something if y'all know what I'm an idiot.
Mr. Fife, what you got back there?
I didn't buy the Rangers, and I'm not going to buy the Rangers until they can start developing their own pitching. They're going outside way too often, spending way too much on pitching. Once you get pitching in, once you develop it, I'll start looking at buying.
I like that, too, because, that's...
If they can make it to the deadline, maybe they'll try and acquire another arm.
Yeah, but what he's saying is building your own pitching rotation from the farm system. And when you can do that, I mean, it works out great. It's hard. And that's kind of the difference in the philosophy. Like, the reason I like what the Rangers are doing is because they're spending. And James is like, hey, well, here's another thing. I'm glad that they got DeGrom so that the Atlanta Braves didn't go out and get DeGrom because that would have been terrible.
He was your Dansby.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I don't know, because I'd still rather have Dansby Swanson than DeGrom. Like, I believe.
Oh no, I mean like it for me.
Yeah, no, right.
But that's I don't want this guy.
Yeah, but
which I've been wrong about still. So Miles, if you're listening, you're welcome.
Hey, but it's still not time to eat crow though. So we've got to get halfway through the season. But here's the thing: as a Braves fan, Dansby Swanson gets better. If he's healthy, he gets better throughout the year. He'll have these little lulls, but the one thing that I think that you will see throughout the rest of this season, especially, or just his career with the Chicago Cubs, is clutch time. You don't expect it to be Dansby Swanson, but Dansby Swanson gets it done, man. Yeah. And I there's a lot of times I had to eat a lot of crow on Dansby Swanson because I'd be like, why is this guy coming up? I mean, you can't help who's coming up to bat at the right time, but, it's like anybody but Dansby. And then all of a sudden, Dansby, 3 times in the stretch of a month, comes away with a clutch hit for the Atlanta Braves to win a game, and so he'll do the same thing for the Chicago Cubs. Speaking of the Chicago Cubs, sitting with a 9-6 record right now, do you buy or sell the Cubbies? Let me go first here. I don't want to take anything that you've got to say, so I'll keep it quick here. I got to sell the Cubs right now, but I'm loving the energy that they've got. The reason why I'm going to sell is because the Brewers are better than what I expected because that bullpen somehow is just
make sense.
always there, man. I mean, when was the last time they didn't get a Reliever of the Year award? You know what I mean? With Devin Williams and Josh Hader, which he's now a Padre. I'm going to sell, and then I'll pass it off to you. I'll sell on the Cubbies.
For the Cubs, I'm just going to hold. I don't think they're going to be keeping it up at this pace, but they almost swept the Dodgers, which is noteworthy, and it was against good arms, too.
Yeah.
Their bats have been clutch in big situations. They're second in the league right now and hitting runners in and runners in scoring position. But for the Cubs, they still have a lot of holes. First base, we have a guy in AAA who could come up, but I don't. My preseason guess was we'd go 78 and 84. I think maybe now I could be optimistic that we'd go a game or two over 500, but I don't
like that.
It still could be, like you said, it's only 15, 16 games into the season.
Is Patrick Wisdom worth a pickup in fantasy?
Yeah, right now you ride the hot hand because he's playing every day and he's hitting dingers.
Do you think he'll continue to play? If he stays healthy, will he be an everyday player for the Cubbies?
Yeah, as long as he's hitting 250 or better, he's going to stay in the lineup. I mean, he's leading the league in homers right now with 8 homers. He's seeing the ball well, which is great to see.
And that's what I need on my fantasy team right now is home runs because we redrafted. We've done it dynasty-wise. So,
yeah,
I've been in good hands. I haven't really had to worry about anything. We redrafted this year, and halfway through the draft, I had to go out and do something. And I forgot that I was drafting. I think we just went to go get food, and I forgot that we were drafting. So I only did like my first 5 or 6 picks. So everything else was a computer. And normally, last year I got a team that's full of home run hitters. This year, I think last week I had 2 home runs on my team. I'm like, oh boy,
man.
It is time to hit the waiver wires. James, buy or sell the Cubbies?
I had to put my Cubs hat on for this. I was at Wrigley for opening day this year. Stroman. Oh, what a beautiful game he pitched after that first batter. Loved it. I'm going to hold on to the Cubs for right now. And I hate to say it, the bullpen ain't there, man.
Mm-hmm.
There is just not a bullpen there. So it will eventually come to catch them. So I will sell in the future, though.
I like it. What about you, Tyler? Buy or sell the Cubbies?
When you got 2 Cubs fans that ain't even buying the Cubs, that tells you all about all you need. I mean, I know they're trying to be optimistic, but that tells you about all you really need to know about it.
Hey, no doubt.
And to your wisdom thing too, I think he's one of those guys who's so streaky where his May might be horrendous. And I hate to say that about a guy who's red hot right now, but he's really an ebbs and flows guy.
Yeah,
I still think he's a 30 home run guy. That's my prediction in my.
I like 30 home runs from Patrick Wisdom, though.
He strikes out a lot too. So,
let's see here. We got the NL West leaders right now in the Arizona Diamondbacks, sitting at 10-7. Do you buy or sell that? I'll keep it quick here. I'm going to sell just because you've got 2 juggernauts over there in the Dodgers and the Padres.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. I think they'll even out at like 500, but that's better than what people expected. I think people expected them to be a 67, 71 win team. Their young bats are clicking. Corbin Carroll's great. As soon as Jordan Lawler's up, it should be really fun to see them. It's pretty cool, too, because Corbin Carroll's the fastest, I guess, second fastest guy on his team, even though he's the fastest guy in the league, because the guy on the mound today, Dre Jameson, him and Corbin Carroll used to race all the time.
And Dre would beat him?
Dre would beat him every time, so...
Hey,
they said Corbin got pissed at him, so they don't race anymore.
When we get the pinch runner up to the to the league,
pitchers only.
That would be cool, man. That would be cool, man. We're talking hockey in the next segment anyway, so I really missed the opportunity there to talk about the new MLB rules with you. We could table that not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, I guess, because we're going to be mock drafting up in here next Tuesday. We're going to have Tyler's brother in the building with us, though. We'll have Max, myself, James, and we'll have 4 people picking, right? So, yeah that's going to be a fun time. Tampa Bay Rays, buy or sell Tampa Bay Rays?
Honestly, buy them. I think they're going to stay at this pace. I think they're going to not be more than really what they are, above 500 right now. I think they'll end the season 94, 95 wins.
Okay.
They still have a couple arms they can bring up, and they have about 3 bats that are in the top, say, 30 prospects. So,
do they win the East? Buy or sell them to win the East? I'm still sticking with Toronto to win the East.
I said the Yankees, so I'm going to stick with the Yankees. And Garrett Cole is clearly the best pitcher in the league at the time, for the time being. And he's someone who's benefiting from the pitch clock. He's a weird guy, and he's not overthinking anything. He's just playing ball. So,
Hey, what about for you, James? Buy or sell the Tampa Bay Rays?
I buy, then I turn around and I buy, and then I turn around and I buy again. The Rays are one of those teams, they like when weird things happen. And new rules come in, that means weird things can happen.
Yeah.
The Rays will do well. I'll even go out and say the Rays win the East.
There you go, man. I like that. I want to see the Rays win the East. Toronto for me, I think it's that, the generational talent that they have, and what I don't mean generational talent, I mean second generation talent.
Yeah.
The Vladdy Jr., to Bichette.
Their
and all
arms,
that
man.
Yeah. Not good enough or good enough?
No, not good enough right now.
Especially with Manoah.
Yeah, Mr. Fat Pitch Clock. And I can say it. I'm not implementing it. And him and Chris Bassett's looking old too. And only Kevin Gausman's been good, and I still have not fully. I haven't come around on Kevin Gausman fully.
I feel you. He was a Brave for a slight time there. Real quick, give us the information for the listeners who need their mortgage needs met.
Yeah, over on 3535 East 3rd Street in Panama City, 850-565-1160. Call me for any of your mortgage and financing needs.
Love it. We're going to go to a break. When we get back, Andrew Weiss, hour number 2. We're going to be talking some hockey, getting ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs.
The ESPN Northwest Florida Pepsi Big Bracket Challenge.
Hi, this is Jenny Dennis from Panama City, and I just won $500 from Panama City Toyota in the ESPN Northwest Florida Pepsi Big Bracket Challenge.
Three-pointer, punch it in.
The ESPN Northwest Florida Pepsi Big Bracket Challenge is sponsored by Panama City Toyota, PCB Hobby, and Buffalo Rock.
For the forecast for this afternoon, mostly sunny skies, 75 to 80, and light southeast winds. Water temperature in the Gulf is 70. Mostly clear skies, around 58 tonight with light winds. It's going to be warm and sunny Wednesday and Thursday, right around 80 degrees, light breezes, and more the same for Friday. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. For ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
850 Prepped, Bay County's newest meal prep delivery service. Fresh, fully prepared gourmet meals delivered to your doorstep. You have a hectic schedule. Because of this, 850 Prepped has created a local meal delivery service. 850 Prepped features individual and family meals, snacks, and breakfast. Sign up to receive their delicious weekly menu options at 850prepped.com. 850PREPD.com. In Panama City, we say shop local. And now you can at the Local Cafe. The Local Cafe is a new restaurant run by locals. Open 7 days a week, starting with breakfast at 7. Try the 2-2-2 for breakfast. 2 eggs, 2 pancakes, and 2 sausage patties. The best home cooking, like country fried steak, grilled pork chops, meatloaf, Salisbury steak, and many other delicious dishes. Plus the best homemade cakes and pies. The Local Cafe, 23rd Street, near Home Depot.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271D in Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe, Paula Essie.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Karen bought 83 liters of Dr. Thunder, a suitcase full of Cheez-Its, and a drum of Crisco. Now she's crying about using the self-check at Walmart.
Maybe we should speak to a manager or something.
Just saying. ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs, and this is ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City, 102.1 in Mariana, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. ESPN Northwest Florida, we're the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes with Tyler Bishop, Max DeLayden, and on the 1s and 2s, we've got James Fife. Now, on the line with us, Andrew Weiss, Tampa Bay Lightning Brand Development Ambassador. Hey, Andrew, how's it going, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Cannot wait for the game tonight. So let's just start with the Tampa Bay Lightning right here. Will they flip the switch as we've seen before for the playoffs?
I mean, I don't see why not. I know a lot of people are saying, like, oh, this Lightning team, it's different this year. They don't have that same, that same mystique around them, all this stuff. You know what? I'm sick and tired of hearing it. This is a team that has gone to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. This is a team that has had 3 straight years where March and April, they just looked kind of average at best after clinching a playoff spot. They've known Toronto has been their opponent for the last 2 to 3 months. So, you know what? Maybe they did leave a little bit of gas left in the tank. They kind of know if anyone has the experience and knowledge to save some energy, it's them. So I understand it might be a little easier said than done just to flip a switch and suddenly you're a playoff team and a playoff contender. And you might see it in game 1 here tonight, but if there's anyone that I'm not going to doubt, it's Tampa Bay Lightning.
And, kind of similarly, in years past, they've made moves at the deadline, and it seemed like it didn't take long for the new players to start clicking. This year, there's been some stretches where they just kind of seem flat. Is that a chemistry thing, or are some of the newcomers not as talented as our rosters in the last 3 to 4 seasons?
Well, the good thing with the newcomers from this year compared to years past is you're not asking them to change too much. You're asking them for a similar role, but it's not too much of a change. If you look at 2 years ago, Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow, the big thing for them, and in general with every player, it takes time to adjust. And we don't really remember it with Coleman and Goodrow because the pandemic forced the season to jump a few months, right? Coleman and Goodrow came at the regular trade deadline, as usual. Season got delayed a few months into the bubble. During that time, they had months to acclimate, to get used to their teammates, that kind of thing. Whereas some of these new guys like Tanner Jeannot, Mikey Asema, it's just, hey, here you go. Welcome to the club. Get used to it. Go, go, go. Right? I mean, look at last year, Brandon Hagel versus this year. Hagel last year had, 2 goals in the playoffs on a third line. That was a shutdown line. He did a good job of that, but he wasn't really offensively, gifted last season during the playoff run. Whereas this year, during the season, a 60-point season filling the Andre Plot role. He's been phenomenal. Mm-hmm. You're not acquiring these guys just for this playoff run. Obviously, you want them to perform, but you're acquiring them to continue to build your team to be a contender this year, next year, the year down the line. So Tanner Jeannot, especially, that's the big name of the deadline, all those draft picks given up. The big thing with him is you're not asking him to be a goal scorer. If he puts 10 goals, even 15 goals a year up for your team during the regular season, that's a win. I know he had 20-something his rookie year. That was on an extremely high shooting percentage. It's not sustainable. But he's also not a 5-goal scorer like he was this past year, where his shooting percentage was significantly lower than the league average. He's going to regress back to the norm. What he does do for you is he brings you that element of, do not mess with me. He can hit you. He can fight you. He is top 5 in the league since he joined the league in both fights and hits. That's an element the Lightning don't have, which is hilarious considering they're one of the heaviest teams in the playoffs, and they're used to being a heavy team. Now they just got even heavier, bigger, stronger, more physical, more snarl. Yeah, if Jeannot gets a goal or 2, that's nice. I don't really care if he scores goals. I care if he puts up 6, 7 hits to where the forecheck is so deadly that every defenseman that they play against has their head over their shoulder, scared for what comes next.
Yeah, who cares if you score 5 goals in a game if you can hit them with that 5-knuckle shuffle, baby? I love it. Of the new Bolts, who will have the biggest impact in the Stanley Cup playoff run?
If he comes back healthy, it'll be Tanner Jeannot. That's a guy that Lightning fans are going to love. Mikey Asema can be an interesting character as well. I don't know if everyone's healthy, how often he'll be in that lineup. But Tanner Jeannot is healthy, and he's coming back from an injury that put a little bit of a scare in Lightning fans, whether he was going to come back quickly or not. But he's already skating. He probably won't play tonight. Maybe sometime this week. We'll see. But that's the guy who, again, Lightning fans are going to love because he is going to body everyone and anyone. Come playoff hockey, this man's built for playoff hockey. He will hit you. He will fight you. Post-whistle scrums, you're going to be terrified to go in there when he's staring at you. That is a man that will put the fear of God in you, and that is a team that already does so well enough.
Hey, Andrew, Max Delighten here, a sad Blackhawks fan, hoping to get Eric Bedard. But I do remember that Stanley Cup we beat you guys.
You had enough love for years. You had so much happiness for so long. You do not need constant cup.
Oh, I know. I'm just crying to the crowd. So as far as Lightning go, I don't want to look ahead too much, but what do you think looking at the Bruins? They are incredible this year, and what do you think's the recipe to the Bolts' success if they get that far?
Well, like you mentioned, right, you can't look too far ahead. They got to take care of the Maple Leafs first. That's their job. You know, we're in the media. We're allowed to talk about things and look at the future and see what comes about. If the Lightning and the Bruins do face off in that second round, it's going to be an incredibly heavy series. Two teams with some snarl, with some physicality. I mean, it's going to be a bruised and bloody series. The big thing for the Lightning, if they want to take down the Bruins, is twofold. One, they absolutely have to win the special teams battle because the Lightning take a lot of penalties. For better or worse, over the last 5 years, they have been top 3 in the league every year in penalties taken. And that power play for the Bruins, while it's not the Edmonton Oilers or even the Maple Leafs this series, that's another key factor. That penalty kill is going to be huge for the Lightning, but they have to win the penalty kill and the power play. Boston is so good at 5-on-5 and even strength, creating chances. If you can get that to be a wash, you might just be able to win special teams and win games. Linus Ullmark is a great goalie this past season, but he does not have the playoff track record that Andrei Vasilevsky has. I'm very curious to see if the goaltending battle shapes up in favor of the Lightning in that same area. But special teams would be huge for the Lightning. If they don't win that, they're not going to win a series.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of special teams, you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line with Andrew Weiss, Tampa Bay Lightning brand development ambassador. What weaknesses do the Bolts have that they need to get better at for this series with Toronto?
Oh, it's limiting chances for sure. The big thing with Tampa, and again, we talked about flipping the switch already, but at the end of this season and the season in general, the Lightning have given up more quality chances and more shots than the last few seasons. If there's any reason to worry about this team, it is because of those numbers. Now, again, they could flip the switch, and it's a moot point after 3 games. Right? It could mean nothing. But you lose Ryan McDonough in the offseason because of salary cap casualty, who's he's a phenomenal shutdown defenseman. You bring in some guys like Ian Cole, Hayden Fleury, who might play. Zach Bogosian's here. But, it comes down to Hedman. It comes down to Sergachev, who's really taken a step forward as a 1A or a 1B to Hedman's 1A. But you have to limit chances. Hedman's numbers this regular season, have been lower than his usual norm. Whether that's him dipping because of age or him resting during the season to prepare for the playoffs, whatever it might be, I'm not going to count him out. Victor Hedman is one of the best defensemen in NHL history. He's the best defenseman in this generation of hockey. You go from, Erik Karlsson and what he can do to Victor Hedman and what he can do over the few years, Drew Doughty, Duncan Keith, some of these guys, they turn it on come playoff time. And that's something that the Lightning absolutely need because Toronto is so good at creating chances. They're so good at putting pucks on net and in the net. You have to slow down their offense. Toronto's weakness is their defense is not deep defensively, and their goaltending, albeit better this season, is still questionable. You can't let their offense get hot because that is their great equalizer.
And what do the Lightning need to do to stymie Toronto's power play?
Oh, that's the big one too, right? Last year, that was the difference maker. 7-game series that came down to a handful of goals. And Toronto's power play during the regular season, I believe 27 or 28% during the regular season, 14% during the playoffs. Cutting that in half, and then you win in a Game 7 by a goal. That's a huge difference maker. That won the Lightning the series last year, was their penalty kill. So they have to continue what they did last season into this playoff run against Toronto in limiting the playoff chances. To get to your question, it's preventing high-quality chances, especially from the slot. You have a trigger man in Austin Matthews, who's one of the best goal scorers in the league. Morgan Riley's phenomenal on top as the defenseman, the lone defenseman on that power play. Mitch Marner is a magician with what he can create. It's a lot like the Lightning. Stamkos instead of Matthews, Kucherov instead of Marner, Sergachev or Hedman instead of Riley. It's very, very similar there. That's where a lot of the strength lies. They love to make that one little play to the bumper right in the slot where they'll take it along the half wall on the side, play it down low the goal line quickly in a one-touch pass into the slot, just like the Lightning do at Braden Point. They love to do that as well. The Leafs love to do that as well. So you have to be aware of these shooters, these guys like Matthews and Marner. And really the best thing is to get the puck down the ice and prevent their zone entry, prevent them from getting set up, force them to play through chaos.
Do you like how the playoffs are set up, Andrew? Or would you rather see a traditional 1v8, 2v7, that kind of seeding go? Which format would you rather see in the NHL?
No, 1 versus 8, absolutely, without a question. This playoff format is fine. I understand why it's in place to create rivalries, but you're taking teams like Toronto and Tampa every single season, Boston and Tampa, Florida and Tampa. I get it. It's creating divisional rivalries. I feel like I hate Florida and Toronto and Boston way more than I did before. So maybe, they've made a point with that. But to me, 1 versus 8, if you're not doing it like that, you're discounting the regular season completely. Because you could have, just like the last few years, one division where the top 3 teams are significantly better than the other division, and only one of them is going to come out alive, bruised and bloodied. And to me, it doesn't make sense when you're going to take 3 of the top, 5 teams in the conference and put them all to face each other in the first 2 rounds. That makes no sense to me. You're punishing the regular season. It takes away the incentive. I mean, the Lightning have finished 3rd in their division, the last 3 seasons? Mm-hmm. And it hasn't mattered. Like, they still face good teams, and they still don't care because they know that they have to face that team. Well, what happens if you make it 1 versus 8? Is there more incentive for the regular season, or is it just like, whatever, we're in 3rd, we know we're going to play Toronto, whatever?
Yeah.
Like, we've known it for the last few months.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously not a Lightning fan here, but that would bother me as a Lightning fan, seeing that you get Toronto and Boston every time when you have a team like the Rangers who aren't as talented but could easily waltz to the conference finals just because the Devils aren't great, in my opinion, and I would just be kind of ticked to see that.
Yeah, it's just, I get it. I get what they're going for, but it's just, I like the 1 versus 8. I thought it was so much better. It felt like more conference rivalries created versus forcing divisions on you, and divisions that are incredibly arbitrary.
Yeah. No, I love that take, Andrew. All right, let's get into your prediction for the series here. Let's start with, we'll save the best for last in Tampa Bay, Toronto. Let's start with Florida-Boston. Who wins the series and in how many games?
Give me Boston in 6. I'd love to see Florida pull the upset just to see what happens. I think Florida outplayed Boston yesterday in terms of the game itself, but Boston is just such a good team that it didn't matter. I think Florida will pick up a win, maybe 2, but it's going to be Boston in 6.
How about the Islanders and the Hurricanes? Who do you got there and how many games?
I hate this series so much. I hate this series with every fiber of my being. Every single game is going to be 2-1 or 1-0, and it's going to be so boring. Last night's game was so boring. It's just 2 teams who suppress chances, and they can't score. It's honestly a toss-up to me. It could be, I'm going to go with Hurricanes in 6 just because I feel like they have slightly better talent. But losing Andrei Svechnikov and Max Pacioretty, they have no goal scorers. The Islanders have Matt Barzal and Bo Horvat and Brock Nelson, I guess. But I hate both these teams to watch. It's so boring. Give me neither one. I hope they're both forfeit.
I love it, man. Rangers and the Devils. Who do you like there and how many games?
Give me Rangers in 6. Devils, I think the Devils had a much better regular season. I think the Rangers with Igor Shesterkin are better in the playoffs. So give me the Rangers in 6.
To the west, let's go Seattle and the Kraken, man. I definitely got to pull for them somewhat, right? Taking on the Avalanche.
I would love the Kraken to win a playoff series. Give me Avs in 5. They don't have Kraken, Seattle has no goalies. It doesn't matter. Your Nathan McKinnon's going to average 3 points a game that series.
Oh, man. Winnipeg and Vegas. Who do you like there?
I love Connor Hellebuyck for Winnipeg to be a difference maker in this series because Vegas really doesn't have a set goaltender in this. And when my old phrase is, if you have more than one goalie, you have 0. Right? Like, if you have your goalie on a short leash, you have to flip-flop every single game, you're not going to win. Like, only the Pittsburgh Penguins in the last 10 years have had a tandem share a net, and that's because of injury with Fleury and Matt Murray. Mm-hmm. So, it's tough for me to give Vegas any kind of lead in this, but I do think Vegas is a better team. I will say Vegas. I'll say Vegas in 7 because the Winnipeg whiteout is such a cool atmosphere.
There you go. That's a good answer. Minnesota, Dallas, playing a little overtime hockey last night. Who do you like to come away with the W in this series?
It breaks my heart because Jake Ottinger is such a good goaltender, and the Stars should be winning so many series with him in net. Like, he's a top 5 goalie in the league. And yet I've got the Wild in this one in 7. Same thing in 7 games. It's a team with a goalie and a team with 2 goalies, but a better talented team. I think Minnesota just is a deeper, heavier team, and they're going to beat the living snot out of you. So give me Minnesota in 7.
L.A. Kings and McDavid's Edmonton Oilers. Who do you like there?
You're going to hate me on this one. Everyone's going to hate me on this one. I'm going to look stupid because he's the best player in the world and is the best player and probably the most talented player in NHL history. But give me the Kings in 6.
Kings in 6. James Fife just gave you a big thumbs up.
Oilers make me look wrong and go all the way to the Stanley Cup final. But again, I think Edmonton's issues in years past of depth have been better this year, are significantly better. But it's again, if it's not McDavid or Draisaitl taking over a game, is there really anything left from Edmonton? So I got the Kings in 6.
And then we'll get
weird one going with.
Yeah, no, I like it though, and James was agreeing strongly with you right there. Tampa Bay,
James, I like it.
Tampa Bay, Toronto. Who wins the series, and how many games will it take?
Give me Tampa in 7 again, and I hate saying that because I know I'm going to have heart problems at the age of 40 because of how. The bar with 2 of my work buddies, got out of work late, and we didn't have time to get to the watch party. So we're sitting there, and I'm literally just head in my hands for half the game, gripping the knife from my silverware as my emotional support knife because it's Game 7, and I just couldn't mentally deal with it. And thank God the Lightning won because I don't want to hear Toronto fans happy ever. It's just they don't get it.
I was gonna say I kind of get some sick joy in seeing Canadian teams get knocked out in the NHL playoffs.
Well, especially Toronto. I don't understand how you're going to have the loudest fan base for a team that hasn't won a cup since, TV wasn't black and white. I don't, you are irrelevant.
It's like England with soccer.
The last original 6 team, when there was only 6 teams to win the cup, Toronto. That was the last time Toronto won.
I mean, the Lightning have more Stanley Cups in the last 24 months than the Maple Leafs have playoff series wins in the last 20 years. I don't want to hear words from them. I don't want to see them happy. It's how you get loud on Twitter. I've got Maple Leafs fans in my mentions on Twitter for the last year and a half, and it's just you are so irrelevant it doesn't even matter to speak to you.
That's not even in real life either. That's on Twitter, baby. Andrew, one last question here. Who's going to be the hero of the first round for the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Just because I love the what's the word I'm thinking of here? It's not irony, but I'm going to say irony because I love the irony in it. Give me Nick Paul because he absolutely broke Toronto's hearts last year, and he went into the end of the regular season so ice cold. He is so due for positive regression to get a goal. He's going to get the weirdest nonsense goal for a game winner, and Toronto's going to be like, who's this Nick Paul guy again? Why does he keep scoring on us? What the heck's going on? And I'm just going to smile and nibble some popcorn and watch round 2.
Hit him with that Jake Paul laugh. Ha ha. Hey, Andrew, thanks so much for coming on, giving us some of your time, and getting us all ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs, my friend.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me. I'm happy to come on anytime.
Absolutely. Go Bolts. That is Andrew Wise. He is a brand development ambassador for the Tampa Bay Lightning and a great friend of the shows. We've been having him on now for, I think, 2 or 3 years. Always fun to catch up and talk some hockey with Andrew Wise. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Coming up next, Tyler and I is going to break down the college football world and some of the storylines dealing with the spring games. We'll be right back after this.
Music singers have always been a real close family.
ESPN, Northwest Florida.
The tradition continues.
That ball is going to be out of here.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Bombs away.
The Atlanta Braves are back and making a statement.
Head first slide, 2 RBI triple.
Listen to Atlanta Braves baseball in a rich audio experience live on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Here comes the thunder.
Sponsored by Best Way Portable Buildings, Dave and Buster's, PCB Hobby, and Gulf Coast Aquarium.
Weather forecast for this afternoon, mostly sunny skies, 75 to 80, and light southeast winds. Water temperature in the Gulf is 70. Mostly clear skies, around 58 tonight with light winds. It's going to be warm and sunny Wednesday and Thursday, right around 80 degrees, light breezes, and more the same for Friday. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. For ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Hi
this is Matt Lewis with Reliable Hydraulic Solutions. We offer comprehensive diagnostics and repair service for all types of hydraulic units, such as hydraulic and pneumatic cylinders, hydraulic pumps, motors, and valves, as well as a broad range of hydraulic hoses and O-rings. Give us a call at Reliable Hydraulic Solutions at 850-326-3000 for any of your hydraulic needs. Or come see us on Commercial Drive off Jinx Avenue in Panama City.
In Panama City, we say shop local. And now you can at the Local Cafe. The Local Cafe is a new restaurant run by locals. Open 7 days a week, starting with breakfast at 7. Try the 2-2-2 for breakfast. 2 eggs, 2 pancakes, and 2 sausage patties. The best home cooking, like country fried steak, grilled pork chops, meatloaf, Salisbury steak, and many other delicious dishes. Plus the best homemade cakes and pies. The Local Cafe, 23rd Street, near Home Depot.
We don't sell the steak.
You can stir this all up.
We sell the sizzle. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Very spicy.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. I'm David Hayes, along with Tyler Bishop and James Fife. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City, 102.1 in Mariana, and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. A little bit of a sidebar last night, but after I got done playing softball last night, my knuckles hurting right in between my pinky and my ring finger on my right hand. So I'm playing with my hand, and I'm looking at it this way, looking at the top of my hand and feeling like trying to find where it hurts. And so I find it on the bottom of my hand and turn it over, and I'm like, man, that is so low on my hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you're looking at your knuckles, it doesn't feel like it's the middle of your hand, but then when you turn around and you look at the palm, you're like, whoa, that's pretty low on my hand. Very, crazy thought, but I was thinking about that last night, and then I started thinking about, well, what if the bottom on the palm of your hand, what if the bottom started like right where your fingers ended? That would be so weird looking, man. The design of the human body is absolutely amazing and intriguing. College football. Let's talk with Tyler here about some college football. Obviously, how you're feeling about Landon Thomas flipping from Georgia to Florida State. Now, I don't think that this hurts Georgia in any type of a way. Is the tight end room too crowded? Do you think that was the determining factor for Landon Thomas to go to Florida State?
Maybe. I mean, it's a kid who's, this is the third time he's committed now. He's from South Georgia, so it's so close to Tallahassee that it's almost as much of a Florida State town as it is a Georgia town, despite being in-state. He's a guy that's I think he's legitimately torn, and he was in Florida State this weekend, had a great time in their spring game, and he committed. Whether he stays there or not, we'll see. I mean, like I said, he was at Florida State, got offered by Georgia immediately, flipped to Georgia, came back to Florida State. So we'll see. But Georgia's been one of the best recruiting tight end or best teams at recruiting tight ends. We'll see Darnell Washington go in the first 40 picks next week. We'll see Brock Bowers go in the top 12 probably next year.
Was you about to say this year?
He could go in the top 12 this year.
Well, no. What I meant with Brock Bowers or with Darnell Washington, the draft is.
I was going to say this week. I think.
This week.
I think I was going to say this week, and then
last week it felt like the draft was so far away, and now here we are. And next Tuesday we're going to be doing our very own mock right here on the show.
I felt like I pitched that idea to you, and like the draft was like 2.5 months away, and the next thing I know, we hadn't even really talked a whole lot. I was like, it's next week.
Yeah, it's next week. Getting off to kind of in that same lane with Landon Thomas. Now a recruit starting in 2023-2024 season has unlimited visits. How do you, first let's ask the first question. Do you like that they get unlimited visits now?
I mean, yes and no. I feel like the kids can only seriously recruit, like be recruited by so many teams, if that makes sense. Like, you're not, if you're a kid, you're not legitimately considering 30 teams, right? You'll listen to them and you'll get some information from them, but and 30 is probably a bit dramatic, but the problem is the schools have a set number of official visits they can host.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly the number off the top of my head. I want to say it's not a huge number in the realm of how many college kids you recruit. Like, Georgia will put out 150, 200 offers. Every team, because you don't get everybody you sign. You got to sign 20 to 30 a year. So the problem is, like, now it's like, guys who maybe normally have told you, like, I'm not interested, I'm not going to take an official visit. They may take one that could have gone to somebody else. And so it's kind of helping the kids, but it's hurting the schools a little bit. And I know these schools are making tons of money, but if you're going to let the kids have unlimited visits, I think the school should get some extra visits to hand out on top of that. Like I said, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I think that's where we're going to come into an issue is like the schools are still going to have to decide how many of these visits they want to give out to specific players.
I mean, yeah, but and then you have the difference in like an official visit and an unofficial visit and all of that good stuff. Steve Barnes, Brian Haddad, Kyle Wright, even all of those were totally against it. I'm against it in the sense of, I guess I'm really kind of in the middle on this because, like everything, I mean, the pitch clock, NIL, transfer portal, all of this stuff, you may not like it, but it's a part of the new norm. I'm not a big fan of, like you just said, there's only so many schools that you can actually be interested in. But then with the transfer portal, I mean, maybe, the NCAA makes it to where you can play 30 years in college football in the future if things just aren't working out. So guys like Stetson Bennett can hang. There's not many places you can throw shade on Georgia and their football program right now. So I just try to find any little
I saw
option
something
I can.
between the last break that Georgia's celebrating 500 days without a loss in college football.
Has it already been 500 days since the SEC championship 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. So, yeah, I think that we're going to learn a lot more about how the unlimited official visits work out. I think having Austin Siegel on and being able to talk more to him about this, because he just got done with his football career and what this could do, but it definitely is going to inflate the amount of situations like this with Landon Thomas where they go 2 weeks where I'm going to Clemson and then they take another visit and that's the latest and greatest thing. So
I think there'll be a few kids that are going to try to take advantage of it, and I think those kids will be fairly easy to spot, like a lot of the kids who are not in it for the right reasons in a lot of these places. I'm not going to say not for the right reasons, but for different reasons than others. But
Georgia spring game, what did you come away with any provoking thoughts or just any takeaways from the Georgia spring game?
Yes and no. So actually, Tho and I went to the game last week.
Oh, you was there?
We drove up to Athens. And
how was the atmosphere?
It was good. Better than I expected because they had like 40% of the stadium blocked off for renovation. If you saw it on TV, like the entire home side was quarantined off. You couldn't access it.
So it was like 2020 halfway through the stadium.
Yeah, basically. Cool. But the side that was filled up was pretty good. They were changing the mascot. The new dog was taken over as Uga, so that was kind of a cool ceremony.
Oh, that is cool because that doesn't happen all the time.
No, that's every 5, 6, 7 years. They were giving out the national championship rings. That was kind of a cool thing to be there for. But what most people don't realize, like a spring game is called a game, but it's a glorified practice. Like,
yeah,
and especially for a guy like Kirby who is not the most open guy when it comes to practices. Like you're seeing exactly what he wants you to see in a lot of ways. But I thought it was very clear. If I went into that game not knowing a whole lot about Georgia's situation, I wouldn't think there's a quarterback controversy. I think it was very obvious who the best quarterback was. And I think that's Carson Beck, the kid out of Jacksonville, who's been in the program going on 4 years now. Brock Vandegrift, the guy who's supposed to be the biggest competition. He doesn't look like a very natural thrower of the football. I've seen him for the past 2 spring games, and I'm not criticized. I don't mean to criticize because he's obviously infinitely more talented than I'll ever be, and the coaches know more than I do. But I just watch him. He doesn't seem like a fluid thrower, and it's just I don't think it doesn't look like a competition to my very untrained eye.
Yeah. Does Carson Beck possess the talent to take the Georgia offense to even higher heights than what they did with Stetson Bennett? Like, does he possess that talent? Because that was kind of the knock against Stetson Bennett. Yeah. It was almost like Tim Tebow at the NFL level. Whereas, like, the guy's a winner. He's capable, but he doesn't have the same skill set as what a Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud. I'm not even going to say Anthony Richardson because Stetson Bennett was 10 Empire State Buildings above Anthony Richardson in terms of, let's not say talent, but just statistics in the world of college football.
Yeah, he's much more the prototypical NFL build, right? If you gave Carson Beck Stetson's success the last 2 years, he's the top 10 NFL pick probably this weekend, just because he's got all the things, all the check mark boxes, right? But he took, I think the name of the school is Mandalorian, something like that over in Jacksonville.
Something to do with like Star Wars.
Yeah,
or
basically
something?
Mandalorian, mandolin maybe. But they were a school in the highest classification of Florida football. Had never won a state title. He transferred over there his junior year. They immediately won a state title with him over there. He was Mr. Football in the state of Florida. Mandarin, yeah. Mr. Football in the state of Florida's junior year. Lost a lot of his teammates to graduation the next year, and they're kind of awful. But we'll see. I mean, kids can look good in practice, but I think what most people don't account for with Stetson Bennett was that he just he didn't want to lose.
Right.
He stepped up. He played his best football in the biggest moments against the best teams, and that's a big thing. I mean, because Georgia's going to have more talent than everybody they play 9 times out of 10. But it's those games where, like Ohio State, Alabama, or even last year, Missouri on the road, Stetson Bennett stepped up big in that fourth quarter and made some plays to win that game. So can he do that kind of stuff?
And no one gave, and I know that Stetson Bennett's more than likely going to be an NFL quarterback at some level next year, but no one ever gave Stetson Bennett the flowers that he deserved for those big games, being down to Alabama and marching them back, being down to Ohio State and marching them back, being down to Missouri. I don't care who you're down. No one talked about the games where Stetson Bennett didn't have to do anything because the Georgia defense was right there, but they don't talk about the big games where they needed Stetson Bennett. It all goes to the Georgia defense. You know what I mean? And that makes sense. The Georgia defense deserved the credit, but at the same time, Stetson Bennett and those wide receivers deserve some of the credit too, especially old Brock Bowers, man. Which, I mean, dude, if they're in, I feel like if Georgia plays, close games this year, which who knows how that'll play out, but they haven't in the last 2 years, right? But if Brock Bowers is involved in 4 quarters of football as a main target or a top 3 target, I think he could win the Heisman if they utilize him at that rate just because he's that good. Now, here's the other thing. I need Kirby to get in the playbook and have a couple of plays drawn up where he's passing the ball,
Yeah. I mean, tight end is such
so
a hard position. But
it's never happened before, I don't think.
No, it's never happened before. I think the only thing he's got going for him is he's been recognized as such a big talent the last 2 years.
Right.
And Georgia winning those titles. Like, if he were to have he'd have to have a crazy, huge season. But I think he could get invited, but it's such a quarterback heavy award, and I think we've got some big names at quarterback this year that are going to put up some big numbers, and I think it's going to be hard for anybody outside of a quarterback to win it, if we're being honest.
Did you get to see any of the Texas spring game or any of the highlights from Arch Manning?
Yeah.
Thoughts from that?
It's a spring game, right?
Right. Well, yes, I know. But then you got Sark Sark before the spring game was saying that it's going to be a quarterback battle, right?
Yeah.
And then after the spring game, Ewers has locked the job up. How long is it before fans in Austin, Texas are screaming for Arch Manning?
Ewers' first interception.
Ewers' first interception.
That's always the way it goes. We saw it with Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams. You see it every year. Anytime you got a big hyped quarterback. We've seen it every year with Stetson Bennett played a game, right? Anytime you got a big time talent waiting on the bench and the first guy messes up, they're always going to be calling for it. But I think people just need to. They'll never be able to, but Arch Manning is a young kid. He needs to develop some, just like every other quarterback that comes into college. And it's hard to tell them to be patient, but they need to be patient.
10 of 12 for 132 yards and a touchdown is not too shabby at all. But then again, it points right back to what you led off with. It's a spring game, so there's not much. Our spring game's a waste of time until they scrimmage someone else, and still even at that point, it's not necessarily like you're getting a good look at the team, but at least you are continuing the circle of life of football on.
Waste of time. It's hard to say it's a waste of time because you're getting.
If it's a glorified practice,
well, for us as fans, yes. Okay. For most fans, it's a waste of time because I'm not even going to say I can as well as most other people, but most fans can't appreciate the scheme concepts going on because A, there aren't a ton, but B, most people can't evaluate football at that level, the scheme level. So, now you're just getting to see the first glimpses. It's fun as a fan because Georgia had 21 guys playing in the spring game that were not on the roster last year. We had early enrollees, 3 transfers. So it's cool to see some of those guys, their first action in a Georgia uniform, kind of see, them for the first time.
Right.
So that's where the spring game fun is seeing guys who you didn't see play a whole lot the last year or two, the new guys, and just appreciate it for what it is. It's a Saturday in the fall, or it's a Saturday in the spring. You can go and tailgate and do the whole thing. You only get 7 of those a year, 8 of those a year if you're lucky. So getting a 7th, 8th, 9th one is a fun time. Get to enjoy the pageantry of it. But I think Kirby kind of said it best. Like, if we go and play Troy, we only get to work 30 or 40 guys as opposed to the spring game where you can work 80 or 90. And that's where the big thing is, because it is practice. You're trying to evaluate the entirety of your roster. And,
but aren't they doing that day in and day out at practice anyways? Like, if the spring game was gone away and it was just another practice, which I don't think it should happen, and I don't think it will happen, but are they losing anything? Are programs losing anything by not having a spring game outside of what's the bottom dollar, or the bottom line for everything, the almighty dollar?
I mean, they're probably not losing anything, because then you're talking 14 practices in a game versus 15 practices, essentially. You probably don't lose a ton. But, how many situations is that beneficial for? Because, who's Alabama going to play for their spring game that's going to give them a better view than Alabama?
No, 100%.
Who's Georgia going to play?
100%.
It benefits some teams more than others. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see some other teams branch out, maybe try to do that. Like if Georgia Tech tried to do it against like UAB.
Then they might get beat. You don't want to get beat in
exactly. How bad? How bad is that going to be if Hugh Freeze had done it against somebody like Texas Tech and they lose? It's like, well, he's already starting off on a bad foot. Like there's a lot of risk for a game that didn't matter. People are still going to be pissed because you lost. Then they're going to be like, well, he already lost one, so what are we going to do this year? Dude, it's a bad way to start off a coaching career for a team or for a school.
Oh man, let's kind of get off of that and go to Auburn, because last year the whole conversation was, or not the whole conversation, dominating the conversation was, when will they fire Brian Harsin? Then they finally did it. Then they get the new AD in. Then they get Hugh Freeze in. Well, I think that the year starts out a whole lot. This time though, or this year starts out very similar to last year. Not when will Hugh Freeze be fired, but that first loss is going to be, if it comes, they could go undefeated next year, but with the quarterback room that they have right now, highly unfeasible. When they get that first loss, though, especially if it's not to a powerhouse in the world of college football, can you imagine what it's going to be like for just Auburn Twitter world?
Yeah, well, I think you'll see a lot of Harsin blaming still.
Okay.
I think Harsin was such a polarizing guy for the Auburn fan base that they'll blame everything next year on Harsin. You may even get half of the next year if he doesn't do one of those quick, immediate turnarounds. But then after the second year, then it's all of a. But I think Auburn fans were so indifferent to Harsin and even started to dislike him so strongly towards the end of his thing. I think he's going to get just crapped on for anything that happens for the next 18 games of Auburn football.
So that's a good thing for Hugh Freeze then.
He does have a little bit of a scapegoat there for a little bit. Yeah,
as long as he doesn't do anything that's in the negative limelight that traces back to him personally, he should be.
As long as he's using his school-issued cell phone for school-issued purposes, he'll be all right.
There you go. What about the quarterback position? Let's look at 2 SEC schools here, and let's start with Auburn. The transfer portal open now until May 1st. Is there anyone in, and I've got On3 pulled up here, I'll look up the transfer portal. Is there anyone in there that you think could be more of a factor than what Robbie Ashford or TJ Finley could be?
Unless, you'd have to give me if there's a name that you think that's worthwhile. But typically quarterbacks, typically worthwhile quarterbacks don't stay on the market very long, whether it's college or NFL, right? There's always a market for quarterbacks, and I doubt there's one out there that's really worth it. Especially because now he's going to come in May, try to learn the playbook in 2 months, as opposed to Ashford, who's been there all offseason, has that camaraderie with the team. Probably not. And he's a skilled guy. He's just not the best passer. So if Hugh Freeze can play to his strengths a little bit, he's got talent to win, just not an elite thrower of the football.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anyone just jumping off the page on me. A lot of 3 stars, which at the end of the day, the stars beside your name doesn't mean a whole lot.
That doesn't mean like somebody from Ole Miss could. Because Ole Miss has 3 quarterbacks people believe could start. That doesn't mean somebody can't jump in there and then all of a sudden it gets interesting. But that would hurt Auburn because you can't transfer in SEC at this point and play next year. So
they need to get on the phone line with someone in Oregon or
they need something like Bo Nix hopping the transfer.
Bo Nix back to Auburn. All right, let's go. Let's do this.
That would be an amazing. That would be an amazing turn of events. Then you can lose to Georgia for the 5th time.
Was there anything else that stood out to you in the world of college football, spring games or anything else?
Not right offhand on it. I mean, it's the new portal window opening right as spring games were kicking off for a lot of teams. I think is a little weird. I kind of almost wish they pushed that Sunday.
Okay.
Just let the teams and let everybody get through that last spring game, the fun of it, and then worry about it. Because I mean, Georgia had a player that the news broke right before the spring game kicked off that a guy was entering the transfer portal. Stuff. It's like, it kind of. I'm not gonna say it took away from it because I was there. But on TV, it was talked about and everything else, and I just kind of feel like just let them get through this. Let the guys who are here, let them be the focus. If the guys not in the game, let them speculate and then announce it the next day. Seems no point not waiting that extra day, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I could even see, I mean, if it has to be May 1st that the deadline or that the portal closes back again, then just make it the following Monday, actually.
Because you don't have to be like on your new team. You don't have to agree.
Yeah,
you just have to be in the portal.
To be in the portal.
So anybody who's going to enter the portal is going to know it.
But by the 1st, though, you have to be on the new team.
No. You just have to be in the portal.
You just have to be in the.
You have to enter the portal in the window, and then you can commit to a team at any point after that.
Okay.
You just have to be in there during the window.
I don't like that. For some, and it is what it is. It doesn't matter how I feel about it. I'm just saying I think that you should, within that 2-week span, which is wild, but we know how the conversations are going on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So you should have to make your decision that you're off the team by then, and then you can. And honestly, I think if you transfer after a spring game, you should have to sit out the entire year.
Yeah, that personally, I kind of agree.
I mean, it's just one of those things because you signed up to be a part of this team, not to be a star on this team. Now, sometimes you get promises from coaches and all of that stuff, and sometimes these guys, sign up to play for the coach and not the program. But at the end of the day, you should have to be at a place for a full season. And then after the spring game hits, there shouldn't be no changing because this is what we're going to go into the fall with. That's just my opinion. And at the end of the day, I think the transfer portal is a fun thing, and I think that as much as maybe fans of Alabama are hating it because now you're starting to see the parity in college football, or a little bit more parity, if you will, not necessarily a true parity, but it is balancing the levels just a little bit more, and it's making some of these schools who didn't have the shots at these 4 and 5 star guys, now they have an opportunity because the 4 and 5 star guy wasn't happy in his first 2 weeks or first year.
It's those cases that always kind of make you wonder about those players, like they transfer out before the first game. Like, I don't know how I feel about that guy. But
how are you feeling right now about the draft, though? C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young goes to the Panthers. You've been Strouding it the whole way, right?
And I can't believe that it looks like all signs point to Young, but it seems like the Panthers gave all this money to the coaching staff, like brought in this coaching staff. I think the coaching staff has a type, and it's not Bryce Young. So either the owner is overriding the coaching staff, or a coaching staff is going to completely overturn everything they've ever not the whole coaching staff, but the head coach is going to go complete against everything he's ever done.
Yeah.
One of those is, I mean, obviously, we'll see in, 8 days, 9 days.
8 days, baby.
Man, I would have bet on Bryce Young being the first overall pick going into last year, so him being up there is not surprising. But kind of who it is and based on their history, people don't tend to change their metrics on players, and so I wonder where that decision's actually coming from.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. When we return, it'll be time for our local high school sports spotlight, brought to you by Bar Burritos.
Attention, please. ESPN Northwest Florida reminds you it's the law. It's the law. When there's a double red flag, stay out of the water, stick your toes in the sand, grab a cold drink, and listen to live sports.
Swung on, miss, strike 3.
On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Double play!
Weather forecast for this afternoon, mostly sunny skies, 75 to 80, and light southeast winds. Water temperature in the Gulf is 70. Mostly clear skies, around 58 tonight with light winds. It's going to be warm and sunny Wednesday and Thursday, right around 80 degrees, light breezes, and more the same for Friday. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. For ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Golf Plus is your premier golf shop on the Gulf Coast. Not a big box or a chain store, but a local store with golf experts to serve you. An amazing array of demo and fitting products, plus a professional repair shop that can handle anything from a basic re-grip to a full set of re-shafts and everything in between. Golf Plus has locations in Dothan and Panama City Beach to serve you. Come see him today for all your golf needs. Located next to Firefly at the shops at Edgewater. Call 850-249-2726.
By now, you've heard us talking about Tiger TV Pro. Hi, David Hayes from the Afternoon Underdogs, here to remind you about this incredible streaming service with over 6,000 premium channels. And the cost, you ask? $15 a month. Yes, only $15 a month. Every sports channel is available, including the ACC and SEC network, the NFL, NBA, MLB, HBO, Showtime, and thousands more. For more info, go to our website at espnpc.com. Scroll down and click the Tiger logo.
ESPN Northwest Florida. He once ate an entire birthday cake before he realized there was a stripper inside. Miles Lashley is part of the Afternoon Underdogs. Weekdays 4 to 6 on ESPN Northwest Florida and the ESPN Northwest Florida app.
And we are back. It's time for the final segment of the afternoon right here on the Afternoon Underdogs. Following us, it'll be Paul Feinbaum again until 7:25. Then the Braves coverage will start for the second game of the Braves-Padres series. Tonight is going to be Spencer Strider going up against Blake Snell, and that should prove to be a good pitching match. Spencer Strider having a decent year, I believe 3.38 ERA with 1 win, 0 losses. Blake Snell having a rougher start to the year, though, 0-2 with an ERA of +6, so that is not too well. But, man, Braves... When they get Mike Harris back, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Marcell Ozuna, who right now is hitting .91, .091, which is under 100, y'all. That is not very good. Not even one out of every 10 at bats is he getting on base.
That's not the Mendoza line. What do we even call that?
Yeah, you call that the Ozuna line.
I'll take it.
That is the Ozuna line, which is not too good. In fact, I think, what's the center fielder's name he played last night? Eli White. He's hitting at 100. Exactly 100. But he's got a much smaller sample size. This is your local high school sports spotlight brought to you by Barbaritos, food, community, and people. Visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street. Tell them the Underdogs sent you. On Saturday, Bluntstown's junior Artavius Jones was crowned the Class 1A state champion in the unlimited weight class. He had a total lift of 725 pounds between bench and clean and jerk. Do you think you could do that, Tyler? What do you think your max on bench press would be?
Shoot, I haven't worked out since I was going a little like semi-regularly before COVID.
Yeah.
And I haven't really been since. But I mean, not anywhere near that, that's for sure.
Yeah, my max bench is 725, so this ain't nothing.
I've always kind of been like a lanky guy, so I've never been like bulk, right? You know, that's just not my build, so I've never been like the strongest guy in the room by any means.
100%, man. This is very impressive, though. Total lift, 725 pounds between bench and clean and jerk. He also plays football, basketball, and got 4th place at the state championship track and field meet and discus. No, he got it for discus in the track and field meet last spring. In the latest rankings listed by ESPN, he's the number 99 overall recruit, number 7 defensive tackle in the land, and the number 18 overall player in Florida for 2024.
If he's the guy I'm thinking of, he just decommitted from Florida State. I know Florida State is a semi-local guy that just decommitted, and I would assume it's got to be the same guy just based on his ranking and everything.
Okay, yeah, check that. Yeah, double check that real quick. That would be interesting. He's going next year's class of 2024. He said he's gonna, more than likely, he's not going to do the weightlifting state championship last year in an attempt of a back-to-back state championship. He plans to focus on getting ready for college football, and when you're that highly touted,
you kind of have to make that move to
The one thing I would say, if he doesn't do it already, and I think Coach and he probably doesn't need to do this, but Coach Siegel and a lot of other coaches would agree, get into wrestling for your final year. You know what I mean? It's going to make you even that much more tougher, and your footwork is going to grow because of the sport of wrestling. That is one of the sports that I wish I had the opportunity to do in high school. We just didn't have a wrestling team. That would have been really good. Hudson Rowan,
I did find that Artavius Jones did decommit from Florida State.
Well,
yeah, I know. I kind of seen it on the Facebook feed or something. I was like, man, I didn't know there's a guy that local for us that was, because it's not every day that we have a legit top 100 D1 player. So it kind of stuck out to me. That's one reason. I didn't.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of talent here in Bay County, Bluntstown as well. But we've got a lot of talent. And Cam Keys right now, cornerback for Mosley, he's getting an offer from, I want to say, just about, I don't think I've seen Georgia and Alabama, but maybe 7 or 9 of the SEC schools, man. So
yeah, that's awesome. No, it's always cool to see local kids. Like, it's funny, there's a player that came out of Arnold, Eddie Williams.
Eddie Williams, I played against him.
So I'm a big college football message board guy. I learned about him on a college football message board. Like, oh yeah, 5-star out of Panama City, just committed out. I was like, we got a 5-star player in Panama City. I gotta go figure this kid out.
How old were you when? So were you like a freshman or something, or? I
was probably 2 or 3 years out of high school.
So you were out of high school?
Yeah, I don't think he was a little bit.
Eddie Williams was 2000. Maybe I'm thinking of Jeremy Hester.
Jeremy Hester. I was at Arnold at the same time. Jeremy Hester was,
maybe it was Jeremy Hester. So Eddie
he
Williams
went to Southern Miss. I think.
I would like to know the years on Eddie Williams.
2012 was his class.
2012. Okay, so maybe I didn't play against him.
And he didn't go to Arnold all 4 years. So I think he transferred into Arnold after I left.
Gotcha. So I went to Alabama and got in a little bit of trouble.
But it was just kind of crazy. Like, 5-star to Panama City Beach. I was like, wait, what? And then I had to go. That was kind of cool story.
You got Randy Pittman, who's out of Mosley as well. He's going to be headed to, or he's there at UCF now. He'll be playing some Big 12 football. Just a lot of great athletes around here, and it's growing. At least from my perspective, what I'm seeing from a lot of the Bay County football teams is they're headed in the right direction, man. I mean, you look at Bay and Mosley and the football that they played last year. Mosley kind of had the disappointing season as far as expectations go, and Bay was the exact opposite of that. They exceeded the expectations. Rutherford's growing in the right directions. Didn't have a whole lot on the team last year as far as just members in general, and so they're growing in the correct direction. You gotta love to see that. North Bay Haven, Arnold, all of these teams are for the most part, from what I see, headed in the right direction, and that's a lot of fun. Especially it's a lot of fun when you're calling the games, and getting to know some of these players as well. Star baseball players, pitcher for the Mosley Dolphins, Hudson Rowan's been ruled out now for the remainder of his senior season. He had an injury over the weekend. Monday, he suffered an ACL. He said Monday that over the weekend suffered an ACL tear in a game against Bay High. That was on Saturday. Rowan is currently second in the Florida Class 6A baseball in strikeouts. He's also led the Dolphins to a record of 15-6. Mosley is number 4 in Class 6A and is set to host Arnold on Tuesday and Thursday of this week. Want to remind you guys that tomorrow's show is out there at Dave & Buster's on the patio. Jack Patterson will be out there promoting Wrestling Against Cancer 8. We're going to have some Would You Rather, some Buy or Sell. It'll be me, Drew, and Amanda. No Kyle Wright with us this Wednesday. And again, Paul Feinbaum's going to be coming up next until 7:25. Then it's going to be your Atlanta Braves and the San Diego Padres. I heard earlier, I believe it was on the Cowherd Show, that an anonymous source with the NFL Network says that the Titans have reached out to Green Bay just in case a deal falls through with the New York Jets. And this is kind of 2 years now that the Titans and Aaron Rodgers rumors have been swirling due to mainly Aaron Rodgers owning land there in Nashville. Did he ever get a house built on it?
He has built a house in the east side of Nashville, more towards a town they call Mount Juliet.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, there's dots that are being connected. That is, if the Packers and the Jets can't come to a deal. You're a Titans fan, right, James?
That is correct.
Would you like to see, I don't know how in the world, I keep landing these Titans fans. We've got James
We're
here.
great
I'm
here,
a
man.
Titans fan. We've got Brian Haddad on Monday. I love it.
You do a very deep screening process when you bring people on the show.
Exactly. Yeah, make sure that we
Do
got
you like
the same
Titans?
team.
Do you like hockey? You're hired.
All right. Yeah. Baseball. Okay. Good. Yeah. 100%. Would you like to see Green Bay? I mean, would you like to see Green Bay in a Tennessee Titans uniform?
I would love that.
Aaron Rodgers. Would you like to see him don the number 12 for the Tennessee Titans?
No.
And what is it that you wouldn't want to see that for?
So everybody's heard of QAnon.
Yes.
He is QAnon.
QAnon. So we've got QAnon, QAnon.
QAnon. No, I just... Vrabel is I am coach, you do what I say.
Yeah.
Rodgers is I am Rodgers, I will do what I want. I do not see that working in that locker room.
Tough mesh. I like that. I mean, I think that Aaron Rodgers, if he was on the Tennessee Titans for a year, here's the thing. I don't want to see us spending that much money when we're already spending way too much money on a quarterback who really has shown that he can show flashes, but he can't get it done in the biggest of big games. And I don't even mean the Super Bowl. I just mean when it's clutch time, Ryan Tannehill seems to fade away or throw an interception at Logan Wilson, something along those lines. But I think that Aaron Rodgers raises the chances up, but then again, it messes with that chemistry. And then if you've got the quarterback and the head coach beefing all,
that's not good.
It is not. That is Patriots last year.
And Aaron gets so mad about not having people to throw to in Green Bay right now. Who's he going to throw to in Tennessee right now? Westbrook Akina?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got the comparison player to A.J. Brown and Traylon Burks, but I still don't understand why you get rid of a guy who you think you're drafting over again and just have both of those guys so that Traylon Burks can learn from A.J. Brown, but it didn't work out like that. So, hey, I guess we're going to be trading Derrick Henry to the Philadelphia Eagles this next year. DeMar Hamlin cleared to play. I've only got 45 seconds left here, about 40 seconds actually. Is he a lock for comeback player of the year next year?
If he actually plays in the rate, like assuming nothing happens, yeah. I mean, the books already have him out there as like a 1 to 10 favorite.
What?
I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, there's no way he's not going to win it based on the story. I'm not saying he should or shouldn't, but
it's a great story. But if he wins and he only plays a handful of snaps or a handful of games, that's a travesty. Hey, Coach James Hell shows live at 7 a.m. Afternoon Underdogs out at Dave & Buster's. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We're out.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents
Wrestling Against Cancer, number 8.
Come see premier professional wrestling with the American Machine, Chief Little Bear, Mr. 850, and